So today I want to talk a little bit about ways in which I show affection because it can look very different, I've discovered, from what people expect or what people are going to interpret as showing affection. So different things I do and different ways I've had to adapt them to make it clearer. This is like me showing that I care about you. Um, so I'm not very physically affectionate. I do not like to be touched. And that's pretty common on the spectrum. I've met other autistics who are more physically affectionate than I am, but most of the other people I know are similar, like, I don't really want to be touched. That's not a thing. So usually the most physical affection I'll ever like instigate is I'll sometimes put my head on someone, which again has to be like someone I really care about or trust, like my parents. Um but that's a yeah, like I am willing to be in this vulnerable position, putting my head on your shoulder or something. If I see someone is going through it, I'll be like, "Do you want a hug?" But I have to ask because I don't want to be that person who like just puts their arms around someone because that's not always what people want. Or like if I'm going through it, like, "Can I please have a hug?" And then we hug and it's fine. And I don't dislike hugging. I just don't usually want to unless there's some kind of emotional thing that's happening and I want that physical effect, like extra layer of physical affection to be like, I'm here with you. Um, and to sort of telegraph that better. I'm also bad at gauging what other people need in the moment. So, and I know from my personal experience, like if you see someone's going through it and you're like, what can I do for you? That's not always the most productive thing to do because that other person might not even know what they need. So trying to figure out like, I want to do something for you, but I genuinely don't know what to do. So trying to like get better about asking, but also be aware that people might just want to be left alone. And that's dipping more into the empathy thing, which I want to talk about in a later video, but sort of laying that groundwork of I can tell you're in pain. I don't know what to do. Tell me what I'm going to do because yeah. Or like if people ask me for a hug, I'll be like, yes, we can hug. That is totally fine with me. But as far as like things I do on the regular, one thing I like is giving people gifts. I'm bad at like verbally expressing affection, but one thing I can do is make stuff for people. So I remember like my sibling is like, "Hey, I'm wearing this color more often. I discovered I really like it. It looks good on me. I don't have much of that color in my wardrobe, and I'm not good at picking out clothes for other people. What I can do is make jewelry, which I do quite a bit. So remember, like, okay, so my sister said she's wearing this color more. So I'll make her a bracelet or earrings or something with that color in it because she also said she doesn't have much that is that color. And it's kind of a fun accent color. So I can make her this very pretty bracelet that has that color in it. And stuff like that just to show, like, I remember you said you liked this. And so I made or bought you something that reminded me of that. Or like musicians or shows that my siblings and friends like, I try to remember, oh, hey, they said they liked that, or they're looking into that, or they're learning about it. I can get them something with that. Memes have been very helpful. When I discovered memes, it like opened a whole new way of showing affection to people. It's just to be like, hey, I found this meme about that show you said you liked. I think it's funny. I hope you think it's funny. Which has been kind of fun too, to be like, I can share this with you without engaging you in a lengthy conversation about it, which not everyone wants to have about their interests, which is also something I've been having to discover. Which brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about actually is one thing that I still kind of struggle with, but I think I'm getting better at. It was much more of a problem when I was younger. Excuse me. Is when I would find out my siblings or friend, this was mostly with siblings, but friends too sometimes, liked something, I would go and learn as much about it as I could and then come back and be like, hey, I remembered you liked that. I learned all this stuff about it. It's actually really cool, yada, yada, yada. And after some trial and error, because that's not always what people want, and guidance on the part of my parents, I sort of realized, like, oh, so that looks like this is my thing, and now you just went and like info dumped to me about it, and I knew all that stuff, and it kind of feels like you're taking my thing a little bit, which I didn't want to do. I mean, I didn't want to be like, oh, it's so cool, also it's my thing now, but I think that's how it was coming across, which was upsetting for me because I was like, oh no, that's not what I meant to do. Like in my head, it was like, hey, I care enough about this thing you like to find out about it so I can engage with you on it. I did not mean to like info dump to you about your own interest. That was completely unintentional. So, one thing I've been trying to get better at is asking people about their interests, which sounds kind of obvious when I say it out loud, but it's not where my brain went. It was, yeah, my brain went to I should learn everything about this because I really like info dumping to people and about my interests, and I really like when other people also know that interest and then I have someone to engage with about it. So I'm going to give this person that experience of having someone to engage with on this, which isn't what ended up happening. So figuring out, okay, I have to ask this person about their interests because then I show I care enough about your interests to ask you about them and listen when you tell me what you like about this thing. And I also have to be okay because I really like to verbalize my interests. I mean, I info dump all the time, but not everybody else wants to verbalize their interests the way I like to do. And also being like, okay, I want to engage with this person about their interest. They know I want to do that, but that's not how they engage with their interest. They don't really like talking about it. They just kind of like doing it. So I need to respect that and give them their space is another thing I've had to navigate, which is kind of funny because, yeah, like I said, I like to talk about my interests and I operate from the assumption that other people are also going to want to talk about it, but that's not always the case and I have to be okay with that. And now I'm not quite sure how to end this video, but basically, yeah, different physical affection, gift giving, it can look kind of funny too because I'm awkward about giving people gifts. I'll just be like, here's your thing. Actually, one thing that I have done that I didn't think about, but I read somewhere that taking the time to wrap a gift is like a nonverbal signal about, like, just show like you put thought into this, which when I read that I was like, okay, I'm gonna be more purposeful about wrapping gifts because before I would like tended to just like hand them to people, and but then I would get awkward about like, hey, I saw this and it made me think of you, it was weird. It's like feels weird and stiff usually when I try to do that. So when I read about the wrapping thing I was like, oh, okay, this is not something I would think to do. I mean, like, I get that people wrap gifts, but that's not why I was thinking about, like, I was just thinking, okay, well, if I just give them the thing, it's, I'm not using a bunch of paper or whatever to wrap it. But if that's a nonverbal signal that I can use to tell people I put thought into this for you, then sure, I'll do it. And I try to take the time to wrap gifts more now because, as I said, trying to just tell somebody, hey, I thought about you, feels a little weird. And I'm not very good at that. So figuring out different ways of like non-verbally telegraphing that I thought about someone because I'm not great at nonverbal signals. So yeah, trying to also narrate my thought process. And it kind of sounds funny saying it out loud because I think these are things that are like obvious to a lot of people, but they weren't to me, and there's like stuff I have to learn. So it's interesting little peek into how my brain operates.